Tonight, fatal accident. One person is dead after a collision near Charlie Lake. Backyard chickens. The city of Fort St. John takes the next step. And measles exposure. Another possible exposure in the Peace River area. Well, good evening and thank you very much for joining us. And we begin tonight with a fatal accident just north of Fort St. John. It happened Monday afternoon on Highway 97. Mounties saying an SUV was traveling southbound when it ran a red light. The vehicle hit a tanker truck which was turning left onto the highway. The driver of the SUV was pronounced dead at the scene. The family of the deceased has been notified. The Alaska Highway was closed briefly while police conducted their investigation. Alberta Health Services has issued another potential measles exposure in the Peace River area. AHS saying a person with confirmed measles has visited the primary Grand Prairie Medical Clinic located at the Real Canadian Superstore on July the 28th. The person was at the clinic from 9:30 in the morning to just after noon. Now, health officials also say a person with confirmed measles also visited the Fairview Health Complex Emergency Department on August the 8th. They were at the health complex from about 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Alberta Health Services is asking anyone who may have been exposed to stay home and contact the measles hotline. The total number of measles cases is now 1,733 in Alberta, according to the province. Well, the city of Fort St. John is taking the next step at looking to allow backyard chickens. Councillor Jim Lequier read a notice of motion to city staff yesterday looking to create a backyard chicken bylaw. A communication manager with the city says staff at City Hall are researching potential care providers for backyard chickens. Ryan Harvey adds, in the past, no one would take on that job, not even the BCSPCA. But he adds, there's no real options yet, but the city staff will look at systems in communities like Taylor or Dawson Creek where they allow backyard birds. Harvey says the city does not want to create new issues like attracting predators if they allow chickens within city limits. He says, there's no timeline for a decision because there's a lot to consider, but he adds, they are sincere about getting something done. The Peace River Regional District has announced a new drop-off service for residents needing to get rid of old appliances. The PRRD says you can now drop off your large appliances at all of their landfills for free starting on August the 15th. Recycling stations will accept non-refrigerated appliances like washers, ovens, and dishwashers. You can also drop off refrigerated appliances like fridges, air conditioners, and water coolers. The PRD adds the service is now free thanks to a partnership with the Major Appliance Recycling Roundtable. Well, to provincial news, a wildfire discovered yesterday on Vancouver Island is growing rapidly, forcing campground evacuations and shutting down an essential road. The Mount Underwood wildfire is the second fire in recent days to paint the skies near Port Alberni with smoke. Meanwhile, hundreds of evacuees displaced by the nearby Wesley Ridge wildfire have returned home.
Seeing these signs saying welcome home was something, and it's funny, as soon as I got up here I just started crying.
Welcome home.
They have been under evacuation order for the past 10 days. Members of the volunteer fire department welcome people back to the community. The nearly 600-hectare wildfire that prompted the evacuations is no longer out of control and is now considered to be held. The BC Wildfire Service says a fire in a Soyuz is now classified as being held as well. However, video on social media shows billowing smoke seen from the lake. The fire is west of Highway 3 and has burned 7.5 hectares. The fire closed the highway for several hours but is now open to single-lane traffic. The Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen has issued an evacuation alert for 3 properties in the Conifred Creek area. The fire is expected to be human-caused. There are currently 98 wildfires burning throughout British Columbia, 9 of which are classified as burning out of control. A Nanaimo-based couple is dead after an off-roading accident in the West Kootenays. Stacey Turroud and Matthew Yeomans were near Caslow last week when the accident occurred. Their popular off-roading YouTube channel has amassed more than 200,000 subscribers. Search and rescue teams in the area responded to a crash on a forestry road near the village of Trout Lake. They found one person with no vital signs, another who was taken to hospital but later succumbed to their injuries. The couple's death was announced in a social media post by friends and family on August the 7th and was later confirmed by search and rescue crews. Well, the province says it'll appeal a landmark BC Supreme Court ruling granting rights and title over a large parcel of land in Richmond to a Vancouver Island First Nation. The ruling raises questions about the rights of private property owners in British Columbia. It grants a claim by the Cowichan tribes on Vancouver Island over a large parcel of land on the south arm of the Fraser River in Richmond.
Elders who carried our oral history and our stories through the darkness of residential schools and colonial violence. This is your victory. To our youth who are rising with pride and purpose, this is your inheritance. To our ancestors who walked these lands and paddled these waters, this is your legacy.
BC Attorney General Nikki Sharma says the government will appeal, but she's not quite sure on what legal grounds. She says provincial lawyers are now carefully reviewing the decision. And while many First Nations are opposed to Ottawa's Bill C-5, Canadians will start seeing new nation-building projects approved early this fall, according to the federal energy minister. Tim Hodson shed new light on the kinds of natural resource projects that could soon be green-lit. And what is good news for the energy producers here in the Peace region, Hodson is suggesting that Canadian liquefied natural gas will be a significant piece of the Prime Minister's plans to turn Ottawa into an energy superpower. Rachel Aiello has the details.
I know there are buyers.
Canada's energy minister made it clear today that with multiple projects in the works and a global demand for cleaner energy, there's a market for Canadian liquefied natural gas that may help make the case for facilities to be fast-tracked through the new national projects process.
What I can tell you from the conversations that the Prime Minister has been having, the Minister of Foreign Affairs has been having, the Minister of International Trade has been having, the conversations I've been having, our allies are very interested in Canadian LNG.
A comment the natural resources sector welcomed.
More customers, more shipments, more LNG export facilities means more jobs for Canadians.
The minister said that as soon as the private sector, provincial governments, and Indigenous groups put forward projects, the federal government will start deciding which ones are in the national interest.
I would expect you would see a rolling set of announcements over the fall as different projects mature and meet the criteria.
While stating the government remains committed to its climate objectives, the minister wouldn't rule out easing federal emissions targets to move these projects forward.
The LNG emissions math is inescapable. So these projects in Canada result in significant increase in emissions. Like one project is equal to about 1 million cars.
Minister Hodgson said that he's focused on results and not how we get there, indicating the powers Cabinet now has through Bill C-5 allows him to deal with any issues that arise. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Now, the province of BC is putting $35 million into clean energy projects to boost jobs and speed up climate action. The investment is being delivered through the Clean BC Industry Fund. BC Energy Minister says the money is going to projects like electrifying oil and gas operations and reducing methane and landfill emissions. 8 energy companies operating in the Peace region are receiving close to $48 million from the province. Over half of that, $24.8 million, is going to North River Midstream for a carbon capture system. Since launching the fund in 2019, the province says it has committed more than $368 million to support 173 projects. These projects are expected to reduce more than 14 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions over the next 10 years. Well, now to some potential bad news for the Peace region economy. Yesterday, we told you about the Trump administration's decision to more than double penalties on softwood lumber imports. Well, tonight, China is escalating its trade dispute with Canada, and canola farmers are caught in the middle once again. Beijing announcing massive anti-dumping duties, which will take effect on Thursday. Judy Trin reports on the latest retaliatory measures and the impact on farmers.
My farm is roughly half canola. So today is very devastating news, obviously, to me.
Andre Harp is one of 40,000 canola farmers in Canada who woke up to the news that China was imposing a 75.8% duty on the oilseed, Canola prices dropped $1 a bushel after the anti-dumping tariff was announced. More bad news for an industry contending with drought just weeks away from harvest.
Not only are we facing a yield loss, but at the same time, obviously now we're facing an income loss for whatever we do grow. So it's, right now this could be a double whammy.
In 2024, Canada exported $5 billion of canola to China. To justify its actions, China said that after conducting an investigation, it found that Canada was providing its farmers with unfair subsidies. This escalation has its roots in the former Liberal government's decision to impose tariffs on electric vehicles.
We will be introducing a 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles.
The previous government in Ottawa had done this to align its policy on China with that of Washington, but we didn't get any brownie points.
The canola industry generates more than $40 billion annually and employs 200,000 people. Saskatchewan's premier says that's bigger than the steel, aluminum, and auto industry combined.
Canola producers hit with these Chinese tariffs, I would say that they deserve the same attention by our federal government and our prime minister as we're seeing in other industries.
To improve the Canada-China trading relationship, Premier Mo says that the Prime Minister needs to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping as soon as possible. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Well, for a while this morning, WestJet flights at several Canadian airports were delayed due to a system outage. Network-wide technical issues led to customers around the globe experiencing issues. Airports in Calgary, Ottawa, Toronto, Saskatoon, and Montreal all reporting delays. The ground stop has since been lifted. Flights in and out of Fort St. John were not affected. And we are just days away from Air Canada flight attendants potentially walking off the job, and there's still no deal in sight. Air Canada flight attendants could issue a strike notice as early as midnight tonight if a deal isn't reached. The union, representing around 10,000 flight attendants, also declined a proposal from the airline to enter into a binding arbitration process. The earliest they could walk off the job would be Saturday. The business behind the now defunct Hudson's Bay department stores has changed its name. It's now going by Rupert Legacy. The name is in reference to the Bay's first governor, Prince Rupert, and Rupert's Land, a swath of wildlands given to Hudson's Bay in the 1700s, when it started as a fur trading company. The name change is part of Hudson's Bay's sale of its intellectual property to Canadian Tire. That $30 million deal saw the transfer of all trademarks, brandings, and names, including the iconic tricolored stripes. A significant majority of Canadians seem to support the idea of young people doing a year of mandatory civilian service as long as it's not military. It's already the law in some countries. CTV's Rob Buffin has more.
Making it mandatory for young people in Canada to do a year of civilian service is popular. A survey from Angus Reid shows 7 in 10 Canadians support the idea.
Help out your community, give back to the people that gave to you while you were growing up. Working towards more community.
The concept is appealing across various types of service. 74% of those surveyed embrace it for public health support, such as working with seniors. 73% for environmental support, for example, with Parks Canada. 72% for youth service, including after-school programs, and 70% for civilian protection. Service that would include work such as firefighting or responding to natural disasters like floods.
A lot of people, including myself, might not have the best work ethic right now, and it can really help teach young people that.
Notably, a year of compulsory service, something that happens in other countries, including France and Germany, gets plenty of support even amongst those under 30 who'd be forced to do it.
2 to 3 to 1 ratio across those Canadians, both men and women under 30, say, yeah, that's something I would like to see happen.
According to the survey, the most compelling reason why people support mandatory service for young people is what it will do for those young people.
I feel like maybe this is a good opportunity for young people to get some experience in a field. Maybe they wouldn't necessarily have an opportunity to, and that'll help them maybe in their own careers.
However, when it comes to compulsory military service, like in South Korea or Finland, opinions shift dramatically, and those opposing the idea edge out those who like it.
If you're putting your life in line, that's your choice, and I don't think it should be mandatory.
But when it comes to young people donating a year of service to their community, a significant majority think it should be required.
Robert Buffum, CTV News.
All right, please do stay tuned. Noah will be right back after the break with weather.